Ah, what's up, YouTube? We are in the Paul Levesque era. This is what they say, huh? In light of what has been going on with Vince McMahon and all of that nonsense and that fiasco, I get it. Even though Paul Levesque was there to watch it all, it ain't like he don't know what was going on. Ain't like he probably ain't, benefited from it himself a little bit. But that notwithstanding, it's the Paul Levesque era, said Stephanie. Okay? Now, this is going to be an honest assessment of what we've seen from him so far. Because people are acting like, WrestleMania or 2 or 3 months before WrestleMania, Paul Levesque took over. No. Paul Levesque has been in charge for over a year now. Okay? Going back to last WrestleMania. He was in charge then, leading up to this year. So we would have taken an honest assessment of Paul Levesque McMahon. It's easy to see one thing that's consistent with him, and that is that he's a guy that is not the most creative guy. Just think about it. What type of creativity did we really see from Triple H prior to The Rock coming back? Because let's be real, when The Rock came back, all of a sudden, what did we see? We saw Cody Rhodes getting beat up next to a tour bus. We saw The Rock choking this man over a bridge. We saw this man getting beat with a belt. We saw LA Knight running up on AJ Styles' crib. Just look at the type of things we've seen since The Rock came and helped out with the storylines leading up to WrestleMania. Prior to that, what did we have this year? If you really think about it, what did we actually have that was creative, that was out of the way, that was being praised so much? We had the rise of Rhea Ripley. That's noteworthy, sure. But is that Paul Levesque, or is that just her finding herself, making the Judgment Day thing work? Good question. I kind of think, and I kind of lean towards that was just the talent of the phenomenal Rhea Ripley. What happened on the other side? And I will argue anyone down. His intention initially was for Bianca Belair to still hold the belt and for Rhea Ripley to still hold her belt. With these two being the faces, why do you think they are the two people chosen to be on 2K24 with Cody being the other one? Why do you think? These are the faces of the company. Why doesn't Bianca Belair have a belt now? Huh? She's a champion for a number of years. WWE invested in her having a Hulu show with her and Montez. So without a doubt, this is the face of the company. You see her on the Slim Jim commercials. You see her on all of these different things. There's other commercials I can't think of. One of the faces of the company. Why doesn't she have a belt? Well, she was the reigning champion for a while, running through everything until they have a match in Puerto Rico with Io Sky and that bullshit ass fan base out in Puerto Rico. No disrespect to Puerto Rico, but them fans that day, full of shit. That fan base was booing Bianca Belair and cheering on Io to be the champion for God knows why. It's something with this modern day fan base. No matter what the deal is, they are, I don't know if they have ADD or ADHD or whatever it is, but when a champion gets a title, and the champion is a phenomenal champion, in the ring, outside the ring, whatever you have, they get tired of it. They get tired of dominance. They get tired of it. And what we have in this case is Triple H. He's a guy that he looks at that when he see a fan base booing and cheering and all of that. And then he starts writing scripts to placate the fans. And I think that while on one hand I understand he's thinking about sales, he's thinking about making money, I think he suffers from, and like, I'm going to be a little easy on him because you got to think. Vince McMahon has been doing this going way back to the 70s, into the 80s, into the 90s. So you're talking about a Vince who was doing it for 30, 40 years versus Triple H who's new to it. He's a new jack. So he will be affected by these types of things. But right now, I believe this is his biggest weakness in the way he's running the company. And that is going based off of what fans want. Now, ultimately, you do have to. Ultimately. But when you have a storyline, when you have a place you're trying to get to, you got to believe in what you're doing. And you got to go forward with it. And you got to understand that your fan base is loyal anyway. Because if you as the creator don't believe in your vision and believe in what you're doing, trust me, dude, nobody else will. Nobody in that locker room, none of those wrestlers will. And ultimately, the fans will be able to see that you don't know what you're doing. Like me, I know I can see through a lot of what's going on. I can already see you don't really know what he's doing. I know that WrestleMania that we got was somewhat partly him, but mostly The Rock and creative. I know that because I've looked at what Paul Levesque has done up to this point. And I see what had been since the Royal Rumble and now, and I see a big difference in the way the scripts are written, the way things are formulated. I see the cheesiness. I see how long he took to get things done. I see how long it took before he announced the Hall of Fame people. I see all of those things. And I know when a guy at the top is a little bit is a little bit, overwhelmed. And that is what's happening. Triple H is learning on the fly. These are the facts. So then he ended up in a situation where you got this EO who becomes a champion and not a good champion. Some people don't agree. You don't know what you're talking about. She was not a good champion. Good in the ring, but you can't have a champion that can't talk. Can't have a champion that can't hold a feud. Just think about it. Your champion had to be carried by someone. So Bayley, we got to now turn Bayley into Paul Heyman or Bobby Heenan and have Bayley be the mouthpiece for your champion. And then your champion is so inept at making or holding a feud that you had to have the feud with Bayley, with the damn person that was carrying her. That was an L. Whereas prior to that, you had a champion, Bianca Belair, who was a great face champion. Mind you, of course, you're going to have certain segment of the fan base that will not like her, will not relate to her. That's just a given. All right, because this is America, and America has issues. America has stereotypes. There's a number of things that are just irreparable with some people. But the majority liked her and respect her. You see, that was a great champion. Great babyface champion for the women's division. And then you have Rhea, who was this awesome heel champion. However, these people are so juked and jixed up, most of them are cheering the heel champion. That's your country. That's your fan base. Right now, it's hard to tell who's the heel from the faces. This is what is happening. So now you got two different types of fans as well. Someone trying to twist this and justify this and say, the fans actually want complex storylines, and they're no longer just going for the heel babyface thing. And this is nonsense. No, what's happening is the product is failing to a degree. That's really what's happening. You don't have to spin it. You don't have to do that. The ratings tell that. The ratings point that out. That the product was failing to a degree. Until you had a real professional come in the name of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, came in, brought his professionalism to it, and fixed what was going to be a disaster, what was on its way to being a disaster. And disaster started when last year they decided to not give Cody the belt. If you were going to do it, it would have been last year. I don't think that would have been right to do it last year either, but if you were going to give up on the Rock coming in, you were going to do it for Cody and his story, it would have happened last year. It happening this year made no sense, but they were able to fix it by interjecting The Rock. And it was actually The Rock's idea to go heel and create what they had. It wasn't Triple H's. So right now, Triple H is totally and completely overrated. And this is just my honest opinion. Now, I think the other problem he's going to run into is now I think they just have too much talent, too many wrestlers. Now you got, I don't know, bazillion baby faces, bazillion heels. Then you got this NXT roster with another bazillion people. Pretty soon they're probably going to do massive layoffs again. So half of them are going to end up going to AEW, others going to, what's the other place? TNA, right? As they happen to do every year. But we'll see. But Paul Levesque era, that's what it is, right? Just keep your eyes open. Don't just follow the crowd that's just what they want you to think. Follow the crowd that's representing what they want you to think. That he's just brought some new special way of creating and allowing talent to flourish. No, I don't see it. I see a guy that's a little bit in over his head who is learning on the fly, who may figure it out or may drown. But I'm telling you, if you keep going along with whatever the fans want, that's not the way. You're there to guide them, not the other way around. Because fans are bipolar, and they don't agree. Just because they're the ones they're geeky enough to just spend all their money to go to these events, that don't mean they should take priority. Because doesn't necessarily mean they are the majority. That fan base in Puerto Rico was bugging. They were bugging. They go cheering on this Japanese girl. The Japanese girl can't even talk. And that was your champion. Why? Anyway, that's all I got. Peace.